No, we're too late to say no.
It is too late to say no.
A true 80 Yuki moment.
Chokes on coffee. Chokes on coffee, dies.
Welcome to the Gravitation Shelf. Yes!
Welcome to the Gravitation Shelf.
That is,
not the Bokuwaka Shelf today. Though I'm sure that there will be mentions.
Maybe. Oh, wait, okay.
What happened? What?
No, I opened the wrong outline.
Carola has been up for several hours.
I've been awake since 5 a.m. and it is now 5 p.m. I've been awake for more hours today than I usually am in a day. I am doing really well.
I've already seen the can of Red Bull, so I can attest. Yes.
I'm fine. Yeah.
Okay, you are?
I am very excited. We're going to talk about one of my favorite subjects.
We are.
We are.
Grab a seat and relax. Since I met Carola, one of the things that has been a common thread through our friendship and our relationship has been a mutual love of Gravitation. It has managed to come up in every conversation we've had.
Every recording we've done.
We've done.
Everything.
I could ask Carola about the weather and somehow she mentioned Suichi Shindo. She has completely ruined the timeline for the Yaoi Shelf.
Not really. It's not all Gravitation, though, to be fair.
No, honestly, it's all banana fish. It's all banana fish and tamaki.
And tamaki!
And not even the tamaki I know from Ouronis, the tamaki from My Hero Academia, so there you go, there's your mention. But, like, it's all banana fish.
Yeah.
Does he even get that much screen time?
No!
Does he that much art of him?
But the fan artists are making up for it. I love it, personally.
He has 5 speaking lines, good lord. And most of it's cowering.
But he's beautiful. That's all that matters.
He's fine.
His boyfriend is Tintin. So.
I already couldn't sexualize Mirio, and he just made it worse.
That was literally the first thing I said. I was like, why is this guy Tintin? And then I really didn't like him. But then, yeah.
I already don't like that ship just because I think Mirio looks dumb. But like,
but he's so soft. You know? Okay, anyway, we're not here to talk about Miritama. We're going to talk about other forces of nature.
Please don't give any of these disasters a force of nature.
But it's gravitation! That's a force of nature, right? No, is it? Is it?
I'm just gonna let you work through that.
Leave me alone.
Because you're not wrong, but you're also not right.
Is it physics?
Yes.
Okay, because I've never taken physics, so I don't know anything. No,
I've taken physics.
It's not mandatory here, so you know.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah, I had to take physics when I was in high school.
I feel so sorry for you.
I also feel sorry for me. I don't think I learned anything. Now I'm just a smut writer. Now all I do is write about dicks. I don't need physics for that.
No, you do not need physics for that because, you know, as we have seen over the years,
physics and God are not required for that.
And basic anatomy
also definitely not needed.
Who needs that? That's like my favorite. I mean, jumping the gun here, but that's one of my favorite things about Gravitation Dojin. You know how Shuichi's organs reorganize themselves? I love that. I love how he's just... Hello!
Also, like, he seems to get younger despite getting older.
Yeah.
Like, there's some kind of weird succubus who's, like, feeding off of Ares' sperm or something.
I mean...
Yeah. Like, EX happens and everyone looks much younger.
But even even before that, because you know, if you look at the volumes, I have them over here. My hair, my wig. You know, he like systematically grows younger from, you know, starting from I think volume like 4, he begins to look very different, and then at the end, like volume 12, he's not entirely EX yet, but he is different. It's
EX is where everyone gets really shotified, and it's awkward because then you have like Toma, who's like a 40-year-old man, and he looks like a teenager.
Yeah, but he did, you know, Toma looked dubious to begin with, but
I don't know what you're talking about. I will not have you speak ill of my husband this episode.
I hope everyone who is listening has placed their bets, because, you know, it's going down tonight.
We have the great gravitation war that must be settled. Just a new housekeeping. We are now on Patreon. We hit exactly 1,024 followers as of my last check. I have Twitter up. I don't know why I can't just use my eyes.
No, you can't. You can't.
1,035.
Woo! That's a lot.
It is a lot. So with that, if you would like to support us on Patreon, you may do so. Your monetary support, as always, is not mandatory, but it is greatly appreciated. We have some really, really cool perks for our patrons, including one that we will get to at the end of the show.
Yes.
I have a note in here that says, please give us money, exposes ankle. You guys cannot see my ankles because right now I look like a goat and I have cloven hooves.
Should I show them my wrist?
Yes, you may expose your slutty wrists.
My slutty wrist is begging for your money. Not begging, asking nicely. I'm asking nicely.
Screams, I'm asking nicely.
Leave me alone! Oh my god, this is such a disaster!
Literally screams, I'm asking nicely!
I keep screaming nicely. Are you happy now?
I mean this in the most loving way. You are so pale.
I know.
You don't get sunlight over there, do you?
No. The sun sets at 3 p.m. currently. 3:30 p.m. So
that sounds not great.
Is
that why y'all's fiction is so sad? Is that everyone just has seasonal affective disorder?
Oh yeah, like we're just winter depression all year long. Like,
because I've read The Snowman. Like, is that why y'all's fiction is so weird? Is that everyone?
What is that? Is that the crime dude?
Yeah.
What the hell is his name?
I don't know.
I haven't read it.
I just know that America butchered the translation on the main character's name because I guess they assume. Oh, they butchered it.
I didn't even know they translated it.
They did.
Not that I know what it is.
Yeah, it was a movie with Michael Fassbender in the U.S. and Val Kilmer was there right after surgery, and I think like in the book, it's like Harry Hule or something like that. Like, I obviously don't speak Norwegian, but it's supposed to be like Harry Hill is like the name basically.
No, yeah, his name is Harry Hole.
Yeah, and it gets translated in the U.S. as Harry Hole.
I mean, it's. I mean, that's technically what it is. Like, I don't think in Norwegian, I think you could say, at least in a dialect, it's like hole means like cave or something similar. But why would they want to translate it?
Money. So it's just a lot of people yelling at Michael Fassbender, Harry Hole, and it's very funny.
That's the worst name ever. It took me a while because my brain is like severe time lag.
And it's said
that doesn't sound great.
Utter seriousness, like Harry Hole. It's like, yes. What is it? What is it? This is not Gravitation.
No.
So
this is.
We're talking about Gravitation. As we said, it's probably one of the most important series to the two of us as Fujin, as people. As Carola has her entire collection. I was able to coax my Kumaguro out of storage. Whatever spacing is. And he'll continue to creep on me and be just slightly out of frame.
I feel like having two Kumaguros at the same time feels like some sort of Like you
weird.
shouldn't be doing this.
Yeah, like it does feel like putting like two ancient artifacts that shouldn't be in the same like spatial reality.
Yeah.
So I guess we need to
Doesn't sound
talk
great.
about.
Like, yeah, no.
So I guess we need to talk about, first of all, for those of you who don't know, what is gravitation, and not the physics thing, because we learned earlier that I took physics and I learned nothing.
And I don't know what it is, apparently. So, no. Don't come looking for physics lessons. This is not the place.
Yeah, we might be your parents, but we cannot help you with your homework.
Especially not me, no. I have nothing to contribute.
So what is gravitation? If we had to give like the 150 character synopsis of gravitation, what is gravitation?
Do you want me to do it?
Yes, that's why I paused.
Oh my god, I'm so stupid. Okay, no. Gravitation is in my unbiased, of course, opinion.
Very biased.
Yeah, one of the greatest and weirdest and definitely most formative BL manga out there.
Okay.
I like to say that it's a musical comedy manga that just happens to be gay because there's so much going on. Like the gay it isn't really the main focus. It's my argument. I know. Respectfully disagree. We can talk about this. Yeah.
We will.
But basically, so in this complete chaos comedy story, you have this hyperactive vocalist slash lyricist. He's great at writing those lyrics.
He is very bad at writing lyrics.
Shuichi Shindo, who on one fateful night runs into moody, broody novelist Eiri Yuki.
Yes.
It gets horribly insulted.
Just
Get
dragged. Just.
Or okay, he's told a harsh truth.
No, he's dragged. I don't know why, as the foundation for a romance, like anyone looks at Aerie and is like, "I want to climb you like a panda."
Because like a cat. No, because he becomes obsessed, and then they fall in love.
Sure.
Drama and hilarity ensues.
Mostly drama.
Yeah, that's
99% drama.
Yeah, and I think you have something to add.
Also, the story of what happens when mental illness and trauma go untreated in your mangaka is on Fujo cocaine.
That too. There's a lot to unpack in Gravitation, okay? We don't have enough time.
I do love that, like, you can't disagree with me on that.
I mean... No. Oh, but... I think... But we all know I do have I look at the things, I enjoy it, and I stick to it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't...
And I go into denial. No.
I don't think it's bad. Like, I still think it's super formative, and it's still super important to me. I think I look at it now in a much different lens than I used to when I was young. Is he purring?
Not yet. He will be. We'll probably pick him up.
Excellent. We have Cat.
We have Cat.
We were talking about, how we sort of differ but agree on some of the drama points in Gravitation, and how, like, even though I think we come at it from, like, two very different perspectives, that, one, we can both respectfully agree and disagree with each other, but also that, we think that it is very formative. Like, we can't deny its formativity for us, and for, realistically, like, the more I'm on social media, like, a good swath of Fujin, like,
yeah,
there was something weirdly about it. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I just think that as far as, Western Fujin go, it is such a formative thing, because it was like the first really big and half-length series. Like, it wasn't a 2-episode OVA, it was like a 12-episode series. First you had the OVA, and then, like, I think like 4 years later, they delivered the series, the half what do you call it? I always call it coil. It's not coil, but yeah, the half-season series.
Yeah, and they definitely I think here's where we need to probably take a break and say that Gravitation the anime and Gravitation the manga are pretty much two different series.
Yeah, yeah. They have similarities. There's some of the same,
Yes.
but the manga is a completely different animal.
And you can definitely, I think you can hugely tell the difference between fans that are anime rooted and fans that are manga rooted. And I don't say that to say that one is better than the other. This isn't like Full Metal Alchemist, where some people are right and some people are wrong. My answer to that may be shocking to everyone because I don't think that the obvious answer is correct.
I think you're on the opposite side of what most people I know.
I am, yes.
I've only seen the old school one.
Yes.
So I know nothing.
I've seen both, and I think that the old school one is more satisfying. That's for a different episode. Probably not on this podcast because
Are you gonna make me watch Brotherhood just so I can compare?
No, absolutely
Imagine.
No. Why would I?
See you.
No. I mean, there
See you
are
in 3 years.
see you never again. That's when we quit. But there's definitely a huge difference in the two, and I think a lot of it comes down to one, frankly, just censorship. I don't think that the manga as writ could exist. It's way too. It's very weirdly adult in places where it shouldn't be.
Yeah.
It's I mean, censorship puts it nicely, but I don't think, and this isn't even talking about the doujins and the remixes and the mega mixes, just the manga as is. There are some jokes in there that I don't think would fly ever. There's some stuff in there that I just don't think would fly. Censorship puts it nicely, and also I just think that the manga as is kind of unhinged in a way that might be too unhinged even for anime.
Yeah, I think there are series out there that are, unhinged, you can look at every time Gainax needs to take a break and they do something like Panty and Stocking, or if you've ever seen Puni Puni Poemi, which was so extreme, it's an OVA, so they typically would go straight to video, but Puni Puni Poemi it's a spin-off of Exo Saga, and it's even crazier and it's even worse, and I think that's the only thing that compares to Gravitation that I can think of in insanity level in many ways.
Well, and I think series that typically are unhinged, there's usually a bit of a point to them being unhinged. I think of Fooly Cooly, I think of Sarazanmai, they're unhinged, but there's usually, the point is that it's unhinged for a reason. I don't think Gravitation, a lot of that unhinged is methodical at all. I think it's just Maki Murakami's insane.
Yeah, I absolutely agree, because she puts it in the little, that's one of my favorite things that they also, when Tokyopop first translated Gravitation, that they left in her little scrolls, her little notes in the chapters, and they're all I don't know what I'm doing here. I hate drawing. I just wanted to draw Yuki walking around, and it's she doesn't even know what she's doing, and I love it, kind of.
And I think that that's actually a good segue into our next segment, which is who is Gravitation, which is getting into who is Gravitation, and that's Maki Murakami. How do we describe Maki Murakami outside of the words that I have written down that you've yet to disagree with?
I mean, how do you describe Murakami? Because on one hand, she's my queen.
Yes.
And not only because she created Gravitation, but as an author who is my own biggest fandom, I have my own fandom.
Yeah.
Her, the fact that she makes her own doujins, for me, is so important because I write my own fanfic.
Yeah.
and I think a lot of people do that, but I admire her for just doing her thing.
Yeah.
But the woman is off the rails.
Yeah, and she's very self-aware with that. I remember, I think it was one of the mega mixes, she's I wrote this with my daughter on my lap, and it's that's a lot of dicks. But
yeah,
okay.
And there's this one, I think, and that wasn't even like, this is from one of the really early ones. I think it's like Megamix 1 or 3 or something. Not Megamix, like Remix, the first ones that weren't as extreme. And she's like, I had high school students help me draw this panel. I'm going to jail. I'm like, lady! And I was in high school when I was reading that, and I didn't really think it was, I was like, oh, that's funny. And I'm looking at it now, like, why are you... I mean,
why are you doing this?
Why are you saying that you're doing this? Like, but she's...
Yeah.
But I think,
she's really something. The notes I have in here about Maki Murakami is Maki is a sadistic witch who is also a masochist, and both of us worship her like a god, which is true. Like I agree. True. Like as a writer, she's really someone that I look up to in being like self-indulgent, almost to the point of it being bad. Like if she wants something to happen, she will not justify that she wants it to happen. She just does. I mean, like, look at a lot of the dojins and the mega mixes and the remixes. It's like, I wanted a gangbang with Taki Aizawa, so I did it.
I love how unapologetic she is about it. It's like, and she's like, she's not afraid of admitting to her mistakes or to her craziness. I love that, and I know that I said this in a previous episode, but when she made the Hyoko mix, which is one of the doujins, because at this point it's getting a little confusing, because at this point Gravitation is there's the 12 volumes and the novels and the EX series and the Shindoke no family, Shindoke no Jijo manga, and then the doujins, and some of the doujins are now crossing into semi-canon-ness. And I think Hyoko Mix was the first one that did that. So Hyoko is the one that depicts Yuki and Shuichi's first time. But it also isn't exactly accurate to the timeline. And then in the postscript, she's like, I got so caught up in drawing this that I forgot that Gravitation takes place in the 90s, and I drew all of this technology that didn't exist. Fuck my life!
Well, and I think I noticed it even sooner. I noticed it in Panda, where it starts to go into Aries abuse with Kitazawa. Oh, we forgot to trigger warning this. Hello! Maki Murakami clearly has no issue frankly discussing trauma, including the trauma and abuse of a child. And there's a shocking amount of sexual assault played for laughs.
Yeah.
Just a horrifying amount of sexual assault played for laughs. So trigger warning for vague problematic stuff.
And major problematic stuff.
Yeah, and we have a whole section on that, don't worry. But I'm like, I was getting ready to just flat out talk about young Eri, like, taking it from Kitazawa before I realized, like, that might be an issue for some people. Also, I guess technically spoilers for a series that's over 20 years old. If you haven't seen it, I don't know what you're doing here.
If you haven't, I mean, this is going to be the only thing really that I want people to take away from the... I mean, yes, I want them to take many things away from this episode, but if you haven't read the manga, go read the manga, because seriously... I
say go watch the anime, and if you're still curious, go read the manga.
But I think, but, I do this thing where I reread Gravitation, like, every 4 to 6 years, I can't remember, like something like that, and it's really interesting every time because I'm reading it in different phases of my life, which is I have said this in every single episode we've done. I'm sure
you have.
I have, but I think it's so interesting, reading it in different phases of my life, but also that every time that I read it, I come back to the fact that the manga is really, really good, and and the anime does not do the story justice, and it doesn't. And
I don't think, and by no means do I say that because I think it does. I just think that the anime is easier to digest.
Oh yeah.
Which is why I say start with the anime. If you get through it and you like it and you still have questions and you want to learn more, then use the manga as like your deep dive. But if I can't even get you through the anime, which like realistically in 2021, I understand. I'm using air quotes if you're listener only. Then that's fine. But like, I don't want to... I think, honestly, at this stage, the manga might be a little bit traumatizing. Like, it's just a lot. It's a lot. And, like, it's easy for us to go in and reread, because this is our religion. But I'm thinking, like, going in dry for this, especially if all I know is, like, frankly, the really, really sanitized bullshit newer stuff kids read.
Yeah, that is a very good point, because,
Like,
you know,
if all you've read is, like, Yuri on Ice and Given and shit, no, you're not gonna... you can't hang. So...
Yeah, I think, because, I mean, and this is, again, you know, we keep saying this is in no way, you know, ignoring what is problematic in Gravitation or anything else that is older. But the 90s were different times, and in Japan in particular, because, like, you know, Japan is only now beginning to talk about discrimination and sexual assault and gender identities on a much deeper level. So obviously when Murakami was doing this, I think a lot of the things that we consider problematic are coming purely out of, you know, ignorance, and not willful ignorance either. It's just that, you know, she didn't know, it wasn't a thing, and I don't think that she considered that this would ever be something that would be translated and sent up to the world, and that would still be living in 20 years.
Right, and also, I think this is a good place to put a reminder, is that Maki Murakami is a cishet woman.
Yeah.
So a lot of these things that she did, like writing about bisexual erasure and the trans problem, which...
We will get to that one, because that, I think, is the...
I think it's one of the worst.
Yeah,
I think it's one of the worst. She's writing this as a cishet woman, and this is where I raise the flag that, hello, Western writers are still doing this. That doesn't mean it's acceptable. That doesn't mean it's okay. But if you're gonna, like, shake a stick at Japan and Japanese media, you have a whole ass backyard full of the same bullshit that you also need to bring this level of anger to. Like, that's one thing I'm getting really, really fucking tired of with these kids, is that they keep yelling at Japanese media. It's like, I demand more black people. There's comic books in America that don't have black people, honey. Like, be mad, and I understand, but, like, you're yelling at, like, a 99% ethno, like, centric country with, like, no ethnic diversity when you have in your yard places that don't represent black people well. Like, your feelings are valid, but, like, don't pop off just at Japan. Like, oh my god. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I mean, I'm in Norway. I don't get to say anything about anyone else's problems here, but we have our own. Thank you. No. But obviously, you know, you can. I know this is mind blowing to a lot of people, but you can in fact be angry at several things at the same time, and it doesn't.
Yeah, it's very easy, actually.
Yeah. I'm a professional myself.
Same. It's been,
yeah, I know, it's wild.
It's what keeps these peaks so full. I've been mad for 20 years.
I am pure rage at this point. Trust me, it can be done. But you know, you can actually, you know, there are multiple things you can be upset about, and
absolutely.
And you can, but there are also, you know, again, with cultural differences and being aware of the fact that, you know, challenges aren't the same in every place, and what was the second thing?
I don't know. What was the second thing?
You know, that representation isn't the same for everybody, and everyone doesn't come from the same point, you know, starting point. So
they do not.
A lot of things factor in, but you know, basically everything you said. Aside from that, I just wanted to. I'm such a mess.
I love this so much because it does feel like, if you ever need like a realistic depiction of Yuki and Suichi, but somehow like platonic, it's Carola and I.
I am Shuichi Shindo. I don't know how it happened.
Will you hang out up here? No? Okay.
No.
Oh god. Son, no!
He's Kumaguro beaming you from the...
Yeah. Okay. There.
Oh my god! For those who are not watching, there's a Kumaguro
There's actually a crocodile in both.
Defying gravity on the side here.
And the little hint of rainbow light really made
I love it!
I've had a lot of good ideas, and this might be my best.
Let's see if I can... Oh, yeah! Over there.
Yes, you did. How many times recording did it take us to finally learn which direction to point?
I mean, honestly, I did it wrong earlier, so...
We've done it wrong a million times. So that's who Gravitation is. That's what Gravitation is. I think we also need to talk about why Gravitation is, because this is definitely one of those series that, like, looking back, I don't know how this exists.
I wish I could give you an answer. I'm like,
I mean,
when you were, yeah,
it's
you were
self-indulgence
making
in
the outline, and I was
capitalism.
like, yeah, essentially.
It's self-indulgence in capitalism. Maki Murakami actually, she's done a lot of work on other series. I know her mostly from, she did a lot of the background characters in Kyokata Mao.
She did.
Yeah, she did a lot of like,
God.
she did a lot of like storyboard and background character design for Kyokata Mao.
Oh my god, I'm having a moment.
See, so now you're gonna look at Kyokata Mao and you're gonna like start seeing Suichi because she still has same face syndrome.
I need you to understand.
Yes,
I say, speaking Italian with my hand, that we, the girlfriend and I,
yes,
finally finished watching Kyokara Mao
Mhm.
this year.
Mhm.
Like, it has taken me, I think, 17 years to
it's
finish
a shockingly
the series.
long series.
I have a lot to say. We should do an episode on that because that's a wild.
I love
thing.
Kyokata Mao.
I love it, but I hate Conrad, so I can't. I can't. I hate him so much. Oh, I see. We're gonna have another problem.
My first time in crossplay was Yuri Shibuya.
Oh, but I like that.
High school Amanda, a soft little uke Yuri Shibuya, and I went to an anime party at a store that actually is where I bought my Kumaguro, and a woman with very, very large breasts forced my face into her cleavage.
Was she a Cherry cosplayer?
I don't think so. I don't remember what she was cosplayed as. I just remember breasts. And she forced my face into her cleavage, and I'm like, oh my god, I must have been like 16 or 17 years old. Underaged is the answer.
And again, because these were different times, and no one had invented consent yet, apparently.
Yeah, consent didn't exist, and I remember
No.
looking up at her and saying, I'm not a boy, And she said, oh, that's just fine either way, sweetheart. And I don't know if I was aroused or scared, probably both.
That's
But
an experience.
My whole life is a comic book, which is why I relate too much to Yukieri, is I'm just desperately trying to find calm surrounded by literal cartoon characters.
Yeah, I mean, like, that makes sense.
But yeah, that was one of the first times that I realized that I was bisexual.
Congratulations! I'm sorry it happened. Kind of.
I can't, it's one of those horrible things that, like, yeah, like, when you talk about it now, like, that's a crime. But I didn't have anything negative to say in the moment.
No, but also you were like 17, your brain wasn't fully developed. Like, what did you know?
I didn't, I knew titties, and they were quite nice.
Yeah, exactly.
I knew titties, and I was like, I don't hate this. In fact, I might like this. This may come up later in the school year. Like,
to be continued.
Right, it's like, for
yeah.
those placing bets, this may come up later.
Oh.
I think I was actually closer to 16, so, like, definitely underage. But yeah, I did Yuri Shibuya many, many years ago. Now I couldn't fathom being someone so uke.
Well.
But yeah, like, Gravitation exists mostly because of self-indulgence, and I think we both highlighted on that, is that this is a very, very self-indulgent series. And I think that's one of the reasons why we both love it, but I also think it's one of the main reasons why we can agree that, like, it doesn't read easy in a lot of ways. There are a lot of choices that are just made because, and, as a reader, as a critic, that's kind of a hard pill to swallow sometimes, because, especially, like, with trying to get the mega mixes and the remixes and those canons to kind of like cross over, because you do get a lot of canon information in those stories, so you need it. So unfortunately, you need to read this egregious smut, because an egregious not in its bad, egregious is in there's a lot going on.
But you don't necessarily. I don't think you have to read all of them.
No, but you have to read the most fucked up ones.
I think I've read all of them, but the thing is,
like, I think you have to read Panda. I think you don't have a choice. I think you have to read Panda, because that goes into Eri's horrible relationship
Yeah.
with Toma and with Kitazawa. I
Yeah,
think
I'm
you
pretty
have
sure.
to. Yes.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that one. I think I have read it. I don't own it. I have all my doujins here.
Mm-hmm.
Most of them. I don't have Panda because I focused on only buying the Yuki and Shuichi ones because I only buy. Yeah.
I think that's so amazing because I'm not the biggest Yuki Suichi fan,
This is where we're going to have a problem.
but I have my reasons.
Yeah, and we
I
will
have
get to that.
I have my reasons. They aren't totally in just like fangirl self insert. I want Eri to myself. Like I have valid reasons. Do you want to talk about some of the problematic stuff? Because I understand that we have a platform, we have an audience. There are some people who might want to read this, or if they haven't read it in a while, dust it off of the shelves. Maybe they see it at a half price books, and they're like, oh, those two nerds on the internet.
And also, because the beautiful I'm just gonna throw it in everyone's faces. The Blu-ray collection recently came out.
Oh yeah,
and
not
it's
yet a sponsor.
No, someone sponsor us. Who made this?
Wasn't that? No, that was who was that?
Was it the Right Stuff? I don't know.
Oh, I think it was Right Stuff.
Yeah,
Right
Right
Stuff,
Stuff
give-
sponsor us.
Yeah, Right Stuff. Give us a call.
Yeah,
Operators are standing by.
You're
By
the operator.
By operators, I mean either me or this Kamaguro.
Yeah, because don't
Yeah.
call me. I'm in a different continent. No, but yeah,
He has one hand that you can see.
I love it.
I hate that I've done this.
No, he has to stay like that now, either until he
he's
falls
not.
down or like.
Oh
for the
no,
rest
he's
of the
wedged
episode.
in there. He's wedged in there.
How
I can-
fitting!
I was gonna make a
God.
joke about something in Aries' butt, but that felt
I freaking
cruel.
can't. No, don't
That
do
felt like a low blow even for Yuki Eri. So let's talk about some of the problematic elements, and then we'll go into some of our other conversations about like where we agree and where we disagree as far
Yeah.
as far as canon goes. Number one off the bat, there's a lot of Yuki Eri complaining about being gay versus bisexual.
Yeah, because I never really was able to grasp either of their sexualities because it's so.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say, if you want to be positive about it, I want to say fluent, but I don't really know if that's the word. I think for Shuichi, because he does a lot of dilly-dallying, he's like, at first he's straight, and then he's like, oh, but I love Yuki, but it's only Yuki. It's that typical, I'm not gay, but I'm gay for you. But then he starts
Wasn't-
prefer.
But
What?
wasn't he also in a relationship with Hiro?
No, they were just pretending. They are pretending because there's a bunch of Fujoshis at their school, and they're doing all of these things to get out of I think in the first chapter, they're trying to get out of something at school, and they're like playing the Pocky game and being like, "Hey, can't you girls give us a hand so we can go have some fun?" And they do it, and then Hiro and Shuichi just they scamper off to do their music thing because they don't want to do whatever they're doing for the school festival, but they don't have a relationship in the doujins, in the more recent doujins. There is an agreement that Hiro and Yuki has that is like, you can satisfy Shuichi when you're on the road with the band, but you're not allowed to put it in. Like you can, but you need to keep him satisfied because apparently Shuichi can't control his hormones. I don't know, and that's the thing. But again, I don't know.
Apparently, he's a 12-year-old girl.
Yeah, and I don't know how canon that is supposed to be, but it's a thing in the more recent.
I do remember Hiro mentioning it in Capybara, which is probably why I thought it was more canon than it is, because I don't think Capybara as a mega mix is super canon. Because that's when he fucks Fujisaki to the sound of Yuki and Suichi fucking, which is very funny.
That one, yes.
Which is very funny. But yeah, like he mentions, oh yeah, I've done this to Shindo, and it's like, oh, okay, but there is a great deal of bisexual erasure, as in erasure less and more of Aries spends a lot of time worrying about body count, like
Yeah.
as if that somehow makes him less gay. Like that's a problem. It's not.
Yeah.
But that's also like toxic masculinity and a bunch of other things. And I think the problem for me is that it's played off as a joke. Like he's having like serious crises regularly, and it's always played off as a joke. Like, oh,
Yeah.
you're a homo, and it's like, ugh.
But I think one of my absolute favorite moments though is when, which is again, I know we're talking about the problematic, but in regards to that, and again, like I don't have a copy of the original Japanese, so I don't know what they say in this scene. But in the English version and also the Norwegian, we had a Norwegian translation of almost the entire manga because they went bankrupt, so we didn't get all of it, but we. We have most of it. We have like 8 volumes.
The story of Fujin history.
Yeah,
they went bankrupt, so it doesn't exist anymore.
So we have 8 volumes. But there's that scene, you know, when they're at the when Yuki's been to New York and he's coming home and the reporters are swarming the house and Shuichi's in there, and he accidentally outs them to the media. And this is a whole ass deal in the manga, by the way.
It's a huge deal.
Because the cooking show that went to hell and
Yes.
80's brother, yeah, it's a whole ass thing. But when they
My favorite
Shuichi
character.
Shuichi accidentally outs them to the media, and Yuki comes home in the middle of it, and Shuichi calls him. He's like, "Don't come home, because the you know everyone's here." And I love this because first Yuki asks, "Do you love me? Like, do you honestly mean everything you've ever said to me?" And she's just like, "Of course." And then he's like, "Okay, I'm coming home." And he comes home and, you know, he's super candid to the reporters, like, you know, yes, we're a couple. And then they go inside, they immediately begin to argue, but it's kind of like it's like an argument where they're both upset of what just happened, but they're also like trying to look out for one another type of thing. And it all kind of accumulates, and you know the doorbell rings, and it's actually just, I think it's Hiro, but they just, you know, they burst through the door and they scream, "We already said we're gay, what more do you want?" And I'm like, I love this. And in the Tokyopop version it says, "We're here, we're queer, deal with it." And I always thought that's a nice translation, but
That was a choice. It was a choice.
So
It was a
someone
choice.
made a choice.
Someone
But
did
I
make a
love
choice.
how, yeah, but I love how candid they are in that moment. And I you know, I want to say that the bisexual erasure is definitely there, because it's like bisexuals don't exist. It's like, you're not gay, but you're
Well,
not...
and there's a bunch of scenes also, like, yeah, like where Aries very obsessed, like with this body count, where it's like, oh, I've slept with this many women, oh, and that one guy that one time, and it's like, no one cares. Like, you're a slut, and that's fine. You're allowed to be a slut. You have a lot of trauma. It's okay. Like, no one cares. No one would care if, like, Playboy somehow successful in his lifetime Harlequin romance writer Yuki Eri is a slut. No one cares.
I think most people are happy that he's a slut, actually.
Most people, I think that would add to his appeal infinitely more.
Yeah.
If Harlequin dime store fucking romance author Yuki Eri was a whore.
Like, available for all of you. You know, like...
Right, like that's
You can get your shot.
Yeah.
That's a sales pitch.
That's a great sales pitch. You could, it's like dating Taylor Swift. You could possibly be in one of his shitty novels because you ended up fucking him.
Beautiful.
Cat.
Yeah. Floating tail.
More floating tail.
It's,
He's 90% tail.
he is 90% tail.
He has a lot of tail. We also needed to talk about, speaking of our favorite author, Yuki Eri, do we want to talk about the mistreatment of Yuki and Ryuichi?
I mean, I don't even know which version of the mistreatment you're talking about, because there's
a lot of it's okay. There's a lot of mistreatment of both of these grown men. there's the part where Toma doesn't let Ryuichi seek mental health help because he needs him to be able to write and sing. There's the sexual abuse.
There's
Yuki's terrible therapist.
she's a really bad therapist.
He's an awful therapist.
And that's a couple, like that's another we have a point for Toma, because I think that a lot of the problems that I have with Ryuichi are
Yes.
actually problems I have with Toma. So but
I love
yeah.
that little evil man.
I know you do. See,
I adore that wicked little goblin.
I mean, we need him, but he's not my favorite.
He's a great villain.
I'll give you that. Yeah,
He's an
You know-
excellent villain. If you want to talk about like evil queen, he is an excellent villain. As soon as you embrace that Toma Seiguchi is the bad guy, not Kitazawa, you
I'm
give
very
up.
surprised. I'm actually very surprised that you're willing to admit that. But
Oh yeah, my love of him is not rooted in anything good.
No, but it's like what I said because I did a whole panel at FujoCon on this,
You
and
did.
when I was
It's very good.
talking, I was gonna say I will link it, but they haven't uploaded it yet. I do have it if anyone wants to hear the recording.
Patreon perk.
Oh yeah, we could
I'll put
do
it
that.
behind. I'll put it behind a paywall. I'm shameless.
If you want to pay for it, then you know.
Mhm.
Anyway, no, but I had a slide, because when I was talking about, I divided into the good, the bad, and the weird.
The
And
panda
for the-
robot.
The panda robot is in the weird.
I.
Can we talk about that? No, but I will never understand the panda robot. No, but I had a slide under the bad, and and the headline was "Manipulation. Thy name is Toma,"
Yes.
because he really is a villain. And
He is absolutely, he is 100% the villain, and you learn it like immediately, because you learn it with the whole Taki Aizawa bullshit.
it's
Where-
so horrible. Like, I can't.
Toma Seiguchi is evil, and I adore him. As soon as you embrace that he's the bad guy, one, it completely changes your read of everything in the series.
I don't
And
think
two-
I've ever.
Yes.
I've never read him as anything but the bad guy, but
You know what? No, I used to read him as just like hopelessly devoted. I did. And now I read him and he's just a tyrant. He is an evil little man and I love him with my whole heart.
which is exactly the opposite of how. No, I don't wholeheartedly hate Toma.
I love his dumb clothes. I love that he's like 4'11".
I love his voice. Like, isn't he just like the epitome of masculinity? You know, with his tiny little stature and his. Now I'm being very toxic. I'm sorry. I apologize to all of our
Not to
listeners.
say
I
that
didn't mean
sounds a little toxic, friend.
No,
You
but
don't
I
want to
mean,
get canceled by the kids, do you?
no. I'm sorry. I'm gonna get cancelled by the kids anyway.
Oh, speaking of, do you want to talk about how trans people don't exist?
I mean, I feel like these points are all over the place. At this point.
Okay, it is all over the place, but honestly,
But that's gravitation.
yeah, it's we're just living our Maki Murakami truth. We don't really
I-
have a point to any of this.
You know what you should do? Like, when you
Yeah.
edit this, you
Yes.
should like get the voice. You know that voice from the anime that goes, "It's gravitation," and you should just splice that in between every
I
like.
don't think that we have the money to afford the rights to that,
No.
but I could definitely try. So let's definitely talk about one of the bigger issues that I think people have with it currently is that we do have one trans character,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
she's not great.
The thing is, what I want to say about her in her defense,
Yes.
I think she's, as far as personality goes,
Is
I
great.
think she's a great character.
She is.
And she is there for a reason.
Yes.
She is there for a plot reason. I just
She
hate
is.
how they use her.
Yes. But the way that they talk about her and her transition,
And the way she talks about herself and her transition.
not great.
Yeah.
And
no.
here's where I will put in a caveat. Yes, There are plenty of trans people that make jokes about their own transition, and that's perfectly fine. Do I think that that's okay coming from a cishet author? Not so much. Do I think that any of us are allowed to repeat said jokes who are not trans? No, we are not.
I think, yeah, I mean, I definitely, when I was doing my deep dive this summer and I was doing this panel, she was definitely the thing, the hardest pill to swallow, because it's just so blatantly ignorant. And
really, that was the hardest pill to swallow for you. It wasn't the time-breaking child. It was that.
No, but that's different. I think that's different because, again, I need 2 hours to talk about this to explain how I think about this. But I think
the time-breaking child was the hardest pill for me to swallow.
We will get to it. But I think no, but it's just more like because I hadn't read Gravitation in so long, and I remember everything else so vividly. I know how, I know Yuki's past, and I know everything with Kitazawa. I know all of that, but I just reading Yoshiki Kitazawa in 2021
is hard.
And
it's hard.
And even with the goggles of, again, this is Japan in the 90s.
It's still rough.
Yeah, it's
still.
And you don't really know it's so obvious that Murakami doesn't understand trans, anything. Like, she doesn't.
Yeah.
Because it isn't even clear that the character, because the way she talks about herself, the pronouns she switches between, and it's not in the, I am gender fluid, I am, I have several pronouns kind of way. It's more of a very blatant, the author has no idea what she's doing.
Yeah, it feels sort of like, it kind of reminds me of how a lot of people wrote like transgender people in like the 80s when it was so like a moral panic, like the autogynephile kind of Buffalo Bill stuff, where like every transsexual, I know that's not a word that you don't use anymore, but like I'm speaking in 80s terms, that like, oh, the transsexual is just a deviant who worships their own genitalia. Natalie Wynn, ContraPoints, has a great video on autogynephilia.
Yeah, that one is really, really good.
And like, I would definitely, if you want to get an idea of what we're talking about, look at that, because I think Yoshiki does fit into that more like autogynephile category, or like honestly just like trap category, which we know is a word that no one uses anymore, and if you use it still, unless you're like 50 years old, I don't want to hear it from you.
Fair. No.
It's one of those things that like, I have a hard time with like erasure of queer language that like no longer exists, because I don't want to spend a lot of my time yelling at like our queer elders for using words that existed for them and not understanding words that did not exist for them. But at the same time, I think like if you're young enough now, you don't have an excuse like to talk about ContraPoints again. Natalie Wynn, she had this with Buck Angel, and she got really, really canceled over it because Buck Angel, to a lot of newer trans people, is a trans medicalist, is true scum, saying that you can only be trans by transitioning. You have to understand that when Buck Angel came out and decided to transition, that was the only way that you could be trans, was to do it medically. There was no, I am trans and you don't do anything to medically transition. Again, I'm not saying that that's the only way to do it. That is not what we're advocating here. But like, yeah, when Buck Angel said that he was trans at the age that he did decades ago, the only end game to that was transition. So people got really mad over it, but it's like, I'm not that angry.
But it's context. I feel like this is the only contribution I will ever have to anything, but context is really important. But sometimes it isn't, like in the case of, Gravitation, like obviously context is important. It doesn't necessarily excuse anything, but it's
exactly. I think I would agree with that. I don't mean to excuse any of these negative things, but I do think it's important to remember, like the author, when this is happening, because I'm trying to think of like 90s, 2000s. Was there a series that was doing transgender people well?
No.
I didn't think so. Like,
I mean, have I seen everything? No.
Of course not.
But what I have seen,
I don't think anyone was doing it great back then either.
no, it wasn't a good time.
Do we want to talk about my favorite character, Toma, for a little while?
I mean, let's just do a whole episode on Gravitation and ignore Toma. Like, that's...
I feel like he'd love that, though. I feel like that would be...
I feel like, there's a part of me that's like, Seguchi Toma, your time has come. I am going to... No,
You've been waiting for this for a while.
I mean, I've already taken him to, to court once this year, so I'm good. But
he has plenty of
keep
money.
going.
I don't think he cares.
No, I know. Like, good luck.
He has nothing but money and time. He's fine.
He is terrifying. Like,
he really is.
As a capitalist villain, Toma is like... There are so many things. I just want to, like, okay, at the top of my head, things that Toma does. Okay.
Okay.
Because, there's the gaslighting. There's the manipulation.
There is.
There is the power abuse, the power harassment. Because the thing is, like, not only is he... Because he obviously hates Shuichi. Like, he has a problem with Shuichi because,
He does.
I will let you talk about his relationship with Eiri and how healthy that is. Like, in case you've been living under a rock, Seguchi Toma is Eiri Yuki's brother-in-law.
Yes.
But
they have a very twisted relationship. That actually, what I think kind of ruined it for me is one that started when Eiri was a kid. Because if it was just, he got married to Eiri's sister.
And then
he happened to, like, get really, really close to Eiri. I mean, that's okay. But this obsession really started from when Eiri was a child, when he was really dating Eiri's sister.
And I'm like, what? I have so many questions. I mean, I do realize that they're futile at this point because it's Murakami.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you're looking for answers, I probably don't have them. Oh!
But, like, I'm just trying to understand what was going on in the Uesugi household when they were like, sure, take our son to New York with you. Only you, weird man who is going to marry my daughter. And then stay there with him and become strangely obsessed. I have a hard time.
Okay, so we do know what was going on in the Uesugi household was that their dad wanted to fuck off and be a monk or whatever, and their mom doesn't exist.
Yeah, that's true. There is no...
So their mom doesn't exist, and their dad wanted nothing to do with his children. Because at that point, Mika's oldest, Aries middle, and Tatsu has the baby.
Tatsu. Yeah.
So he wanted nothing to do with his children. Except for Tatsuha for some reason.
I love that Tatsuha, that he is still, accepted and living. Like, okay, because he's perfect as far as, I mean, I love him. I love Tatsuha, but also he's...
Yes.
I'm trying to find the word. But if Eiri is a problem for you as a father, because you want him to be this, and I do realize, like, he's the oldest son or whatever, and you want him to go into, being a monk with you, but, like, Tatsuha is actually training to be a monk, isn't he? I feel, yeah.
He was, until he discovered the glorious power of Ryuichi's ass. And then he gave up. And he discovered the glorious power of butt sex. And gave up on his vows.
Tatsuha's living his dreams, because he's like, I am going to become a monk, but I'm also going to be riding around on my motorcycle, and then I am living my dreams, and now my rock star idol is my boyfriend. Did you know that the now I'm just getting out of track, but that's what I usually do, that the original prototype for Gravitation is a manga called Help that is actually about Tatsuha and Ryuichi in essentially the same situation as Shuichi and Yuki. Actually, wait. It's this one, and this is Tatsuha.
Yeah.
Actually, no, this is Ryuichi. I'm an idiot, but it's actually very cute. It's very funny.
I would actually watch the hell out of that because I think both of them have a lot more agency than Suichi does with Eri, which we're getting ahead of ourselves. I'm sorry.
No,
Did I reveal a card too soon? At least both of them have agency and personalities. Then
are you saying Shuichi doesn't have a personality?
I think whatever uke cocaine he's on.
I think he's glorious. We're the same person.
This is true. But yeah, man, Toma's awful. And then you get to Panda, and he does a lot of weird gaslighting sex with Eri, and apparently he probably kind of knew about what was going on with Kitazawa and didn't stop it.
But that's what Toma does, because he knows what's happening. There are multiple situations in the manga like that, because and in the anime as well. That's what I was saying, like, because he's abusing his power as CEO, really as brother-in-law, as everything. Because it's from things like how at some point he fires Sakano.
He does.
And then Sakano is allowed back in the company, but he doesn't get his original position back because he mispronounced the company motto in Hebrew. And so he's given a different job, because that's what Toma does. He plays with people. And
he does. Like, it's really shameless plug. I make that analogy in the Gravitation fanfic that I've been writing since I was in high school. Is that really he is playing a giant game of chess, and he's probably enjoys it a little bit too much that he has that much power. I think it's evident in everything that he wears that he loves the amount of power that he has over people.
Yep.
I love his dumb hat. I love all of his
I am not
lavish...
a fan of the hat.
I
do like the fur trims and the feathers and
his
everything.
Stupid like, overhaul jacket.
I love it. It's so stupidly flamboyant. It's perfect.
I love this little man so much. He's evil.
This is the visual K fan in me speaking. That's like
it's so weird because it's like I mean I don't disagree with you. He's a terrible, terrible man. I love him more than anything. And I can't wait to cosplay him soon.
Oh my god. But yeah, but he does he has a lot of things where he will overlook things that are happening, and he does this with Shuichi several times.
He does.
He knows about Asuka
and
Taki Aizawa. He knows about when Ryuichi is being a weirdo and harassing Shuichi for his own weird reasons.
Yeah, reasons.
For reasons. But yeah, I also think that he knew a lot of what was happening with Yuki, and he didn't do anything.
Yeah.
Until it was.
And it's awful to see, because basically it's like he set Eri up to be abused. So now he has this very pliant doll that he always wanted. And that makes it worse.
And it's like I didn't read it exactly like that. I think but I definitely get where you're coming from. I think that makes a lot of sense. For me, the way I remember reading it is like, I mean, he feels, I mean, regardless of how you look at this, I mean, I think he definitely does feel some sort of remorse and guilt over what happened to Yuki.
I can definitely see that he feels a guilt.
And I definitely think that he, on some level, is probably also traumatized by this, because, I mean, even if it's, it's Toma. I don't know how his brain works, but...
I would love to draw out a map of the brain of Toma Seguchi.
You take your wife / fiance's little brother with you, and something horrible happens to him, and now he's traumatized for life, and you're the person who's supposed to be looking after him, and I can understand that this is, on some level, Toma probably also has some sort of trauma related to this, and he's doing that thing where he's like always trying, like he's always saying that he wants to protect him, and he wants to look out for him, but
he's doing it wrong.
he's doing it very wrong. This is like
Yeah.
every red flag he's over. It's
I
like
mean, there's I definitely I can see what you're hitting at, and I definitely do agree with it. I think that there's an interesting story in there somewhere about like what Toma's experience must have been like doing NG and Niddle Grasper so young, because he was not very old when Niddle Grasper started. So him probably going through a lot of the same predatory bullshit that Suichi and Ask went through. You know, there's probably definitely a story in there about him getting one engaged and married so young to a woman he obviously does not love, may like a lot, but obviously does not love her.
yeah, because that marriage.
Is not healthy.
Yeah, no, I have questions. I have
Yeah,
a whole
like,
lot of questions.
I mean, I'm not trying to like be a Toma apologist in this aspect because he's still bad, but like, what was his life like? I think it's easy to paint him as like this unilateral villain, but like, he probably went through a lot of the horrible things that like we know happens to rock stars, where he was probably super sexualized at a young age. He's again clearly almost probably coerced into a marriage with a woman that he does not seem to love at all. Like a lot, sure, but does not seem to love her. Probably has some feelings about Ryuichi that he hasn't worked his way through yet.
Has a lot of feelings about Yuki that are
weird.
Yeah. and also, but I think that's very interesting, like, because that's an interesting angle, because Fujisaki, I'm sorry to sound like, now I'm doing the, yeah. No, but Fujisaki he's Toma's cousin. Isn't he like 14? So he's doing the same thing. He's like, here's, 14-year-old, have some show business, like.
But I think it goes back to like what we were talking about with psychological abuse, is that sometimes like that's all you know.
Yeah.
Is all you know is how to perpetuate. Yeah. Like, it might not be intentional. I don't necessarily know if I want to take away Toma's agency, because I mean, I like the evil read of him a little bit more. But maybe like he just genuinely does not know any better, and like he thinks he's helping, which almost makes this sad. Like he thinks that he's helping, or he thinks that this is the best way to do it, and it's just not, which actually pretty smoothly transitions us into sexual assault for plot reasons.
Yeah. Again, I'm like the worst apologist ever. I do realize that we, no, but because it's complex.
It's complex. That's putting a really, really neat bow on it.
Yeah.
I think the two main examples that I want to harken on are Aries abuse entirely.
Yeah.
And the Suichi thing with Ask, because that in the anime and in the manga play out very, very differently. If you have not ever read or watched Gravitation, there's Suichi's dumb band.
They're called Bad Luck, okay?
This stupid band.
I love it!
And there's a rival band called Ask. It's like the boy band wars back of like the 2000s.
Except they're like, some of them are thugs.
Some of them are.
And when I say some of them, one of them is.
I think you mean the background folks for Ask. I think they're actually bad people. And Taki Aizawa
is. Yeah,
I
hate that man.
No,
I knew it. I can't stand him.
I like him a lot.
I
love that smug prick.
Oh no!
I adore that smug prick more than anything.
More than Toma?
No. I would love for them to hate fuck though.
I will agree.
I would love to see him bent over Toma's desk though.
Are we? I mean, I'm not even gonna, swat away the possibility that has even happened, because
it probably has.
It probably has.
I'm gonna go ahead and confirm it has. I'm not mocking Murakami, but I'm gonna go ahead and say that it's happened. But so basically, there's some boy band infighting, and to fuck up, Bad Luck and Suichi, the members of Ask are like, we're gonna go fuck him up. The anime plays it like Suichi's just severely beaten up. The manga actually goes out of its way to say that they gangbanged him.
Yeah, and they filmed it. And the
And they
thing is,
filmed it.
and they're not even doing it. Like, that's the thing, though, because one of the reasons why they're doing it, because they want to hit Shuichi where it hurts,
Yeah,
but
and
they
his
are
asshole.
doing it so they can blackmail Yuki.
Yes.
Because they want to hurt Yuki in order to hurt Shuichi. And it's
Which
like, really...
does not make any sense for the timeline of the series, because Yuki's a floating head of bad ideas.
Yeah, and it's... Yeah,
It
and
almost feels like it's more of a... So the way I read it is, it almost is like more of a jab at Toma than it is at Suichi.
yeah, I think... I mean, and again, like, because obviously Yuki's story is so... It's so heavy. But I always felt like, because when you... I don't think I don't know if you necessarily get the gist in the anime, because the anime in particular has this thing where, because it has to resolve within 12 episodes, and a lot of the reason why I feel like this sexual abuse and the other forms of abuse are making so, they're being made light of because it's a comedy, and the anime doesn't really deal with it. The manga does deal with it, not always great, but it deals.
See, and like, not to cut you off, I think that's honestly why I rather you just go into the anime sometimes, because I have a much harder time swallowing that it's played off as a joke in the manga than just not acknowledging it at all.
Yeah, but
and that's just me.
Yeah, no, but I agree, because and that's what I'm trying to get at, that with Yuki you can't play it off as a joke, because it's so it's still for plot reasons, because Yuki's entire existence is so bound up in trauma and repression and self-hatred and all of these really hard and complicated things that he's gone through. But what happens to Shuichi feels like a very unnecessary plot point, because in Yuki's case, it's woven into his character in a way that if you took that away, he would be a very different person, and everything would be really different. But with Shuichi, what it does, like, the manga does play it off initially. It is used as a plot point in order to have Yuki come in and protect Shuichi and actually show that he cares. It's one of the not one of the earliest moments where he shows that he cares, but he does show that he cares.
It's also like one of the more demonstrative moments, because he does a lot of like the abusive boyfriend thing of like little moments that feel big.
Yeah, but I think it's just that they do come back to it. I don't know if Murakami does this intentionally, because that's the problem. You don't know what she's thinking. You don't know how intentional anything is. I know that at one point in the manga it is brought back up because Shuichi is trying to understand Yuki, and he's saying that he can understand because, I was also assaulted, don't forget that this also happened to me, but because, it's a different situation. But I still think what happened to Shuichi wasn't necessary, and I don't like the way it was made light of and played off. And I think yeah, they're very different.
Right, and I love that you bring that up, because honestly, like, even sometimes for me, I forget that as a writer, because I'm quick to put Suichi in a box, in like the Damuke box, and that was always like a major sticking point when like fangirls like me would argue against Yuki Suichi canon, is like, oh, well, Suichi doesn't understand. It's like, he actually does.
He does.
The writing is bad, and you don't always get that. So I really, again, casual host simping, I appreciate you bringing that up, because like when we were doing like early shipping manifestos, that was always like a big reason against Yuki and Suichi for a lot of fangirls like me who did not really like their canonness as a relationship, and we'll get to that further down. But yeah, God, you're brilliant.
I did do a whole, like, this is the hill I am dying on. Gravitation.
No, and I completely respect it. Like, I absolutely respect it, and I think that that's a really, really valid point. But yeah, like, Suichi's assault is completely played off as something that doesn't really matter and doesn't happen, and it is one of the bigger demonstrative moments between him and Yuki. It does definitely still feel like a bigger swipe to Toma than it does in Suichi's just collateral damage, because Aizawa would have known that Eri and Toma are close.
Yeah.
There's no way in God's green earth that they wouldn't have known. So it makes a lot more sense that it'd be a swipe at Toma for like Ask no longer being the favorite child
Yeah, yeah,
than it
exactly.
does we want to piss off Eri, because I can't imagine that they would think, oh, if we're gonna go at Eri, that's gonna just completely, that Toma's not gonna pay attention to that. That Toma's just gonna,
Yeah,
I see some fuckery happens.
and
Ignore.
that's the thing exactly, because Toma, he saw it happening. He saw them going after Shuichi, but Toma at that point also has a problem with Shuichi, and so he just lets it slide. But the moment they go after Yuki, that's like deal breaker. That's when he deals with Ask, not when not when it has to do with someone who's actually on his own label. Like, he doesn't care. He has enough money. It doesn't matter. It's
Yeah, for sure. I think I want to wrap up this segment with addiction and mental illness being untreated or creative in spice. There's a lot of talk about how like Eri doesn't really like taking his medication because he can't write. There's a lot of like Toma blatantly saying that he doesn't let Ryuichi seek help because he needs him to be Ryuichi. There's also, do we ever finally figure out what is wrong with Ryuichi? Because they say early on that it's schizophrenia. I think they mean it's DID, dissociative identity disorder.
I have no idea.
I think that they started with it's schizophrenia.
I can't even remember. Like, I can't even, like, I can't even remember it being related, like, that, maybe it's because I'm so focused on Shuichi and Yuki all the time that I can't, but I honestly can't remember anyone having said that Yuichi has a mental illness.
Yeah, okay, because I remember it because it was in the OVA, with Shining Collection, which is a song that I love so much, that, yeah, they say it's schizophrenia, and I only know that Eri's bipolar because I think his horrible therapist says it once, and he's on lithium. Lithium is the medication that he's taking. Which
I do know, yeah, because I do know that Yuki, that's just a side note, Yuki thinks that he's schizophrenic in the manga. And we never really get to, I don't think it's ever clarified whether he actually is, because that's the thing, because it's a whole thing he's going through, because his, everything is coming back up, and he's trying to reconcile all the sides of himself, and so he thinks he's going crazy. I think he isn't schizophrenic, but he thinks he is.
Yeah, so I don't think he's schizophrenic either. I know his horrible therapist says that he's bipolar, and I know the medication he takes is a bipolar medication. I don't think he's bipolar, but we're not doctors. I think he just needs a good therapist, and I would say he's probably not manic depressive, he's just depressed.
Yeah, but he has major trauma.
Yeah, like, he's very, very traumatized and has not been dealing with it. And has not been allowed to deal with it.
Yeah, exactly.
So I don't really see him as manic very often. I just see him depressed.
I'm just trying to, no.
A manic Aries Tatsuha.
Oh my god, yeah, yes.
I also love that you didn't need to finish that sentence, but I knew.
I was trying to imagine it. I think the closest you get to a manic 80 is, when they're supposed to go on the date, when they're undercover, and then in the manga, they both wear disguises. Yes. And I love this moment, because he's in the back, and he's dressed in this dress, and the wig with the curls and everything. And I love this moment, because they're like, Yuki, what are you wearing? And he's like, Shuichi told me to wear it. I feel pretty. And I'm like, this is the best moment in my life. I think this is my main reason why I think everyone needs to read the manga, because Yuki has so many expressions, and he's so funny. He's so funny.
Okay, I will say that's a major swipe against the anime, but I think for all of reasons we just pointed out, the manga might be a little bit hard for some people to swallow.
Yeah.
He's really deadened in the anime.
He has like one look.
He has one look, and I think makes one joke. He is his English voice actor, shockingly hot though. His Japanese voice actor, even hotter. Yes.
No, because I'm just doing because the Japanese voice actor Kazuhiko Inoue, who
My
also
favorite, my husband.
I love him. The moment when my young self realized that Yuki 80 and Kakashi had the same voice, I was like, this is
Also,
hilarious.
the voice of Klaus von Wolfstadt in Maiden Rose.
Also, the voice of Eiji in Banana Fish, the original drama CD, which is so weird. It is so weird when you see the anime and you know his
Yeah.
voice the way you know him now,
Yeah.
and then it's Yuki 80, and I'm like,
Also, the voice of Tachibana in Antique Bakery in the
and he's
drama series.
also no wait, I think he's in Kyokaramao, but no,
Is
I
he?
don't know. I feel like,
I-
but he's in everything.
I mean, yeah, he's been in everything. Seki Tomokazu, who is Suichi's, has also been in everything.
Yeah,
We're oh god, voice acting. But yeah, like there's a lot of like mental health stuff that's just not discussed, or it's played off as like, oh well, we need this for the sake of, you know, it's fine. Oh, he's Hattori in Fruits Basket. Of course he is.
you're just like looking up.
He
That's
is a
about it,
Kyokan
though.
now. He's Ginter Monkey.
Yeah, who is he?
He's Ginter. Gunter.
Yeah. That's what I thought. I just wasn't sure.
He's in Junjo. Of course he is.
Of course.
Does he owe money? Why are you in so many roles, sir?
Because
Like,
he is, he's
do you owe money to someone?
Maki
But yeah,
Murakami.
he's-
The plot thickens.
the plot does thicken. Oh my god, he's so good. He's so good. Sorry, it's Chikage and the drama CD for Antique Bakery, but I was close enough. Seki Tomokazu returns, and I love Seki Tomokazu. But I think that's a pretty good place to wrap up on like some of the problematic stuff. Because we did mention the anime, this is a series about music, which you can
It is.
only experience if you watch the anime. Why does he also play Jean Baptiste in Antique Bakery? No!
The series that comes back to haunt you.
Okay, but Jean Baptiste, I love that man. He's a terrible person.
This is.
And
You
yeah.
have a type. You have a type, sweetie.
I'm aware. I'm aware. I did not know that was Kazuhiko Inoue as Jean Baptiste, though, which explains a lot.
I think it's so funny that all of the threads, they just come together and it's like,
I don't like it.
But of course.
I'm not fond of it. I'm still a little bit mad at you for the whole Yashiro Eri thing. I'm still a little pissed at you for that. Because I didn't want those threads to cross, and now that they're there, it's like, fuck. Just looking at everyone, it's like, God
No, it's
damn
fine. Just gotta deny it.
That's what Eri does.
Yeah, he's good
Yes.
at that.
Do we have any favorite songs from the anime?
Yeah, we do.
We do.
We do. Do what?
That was,
I think we have one in
Carolla's
common.
tired.
No, fine. I am actually very fine for someone who has not slept for 17 years.
I'm very impressed by you right now. Which one is our one that we have in common? Is it Sleepless Beauty or is it Anti-Nostalgic?
Anti-nostalgic.
Oh, I love that song so
I
much.
I love that one, and also Under the Moonlight, which is
It's fine.
my friggin' soul every time I hear it, I'm just like, ugh, they love each other so much.
Yeah.
No, it's fine. But
Sleepless Beauty, I cannot tell you the amount of times I've gotten ready to that song.
I love Sleepless Beauty though.
Like-
but I
love Shining Collection, which I have several headcanons about that I don't think we have time to talk about today. But during our live show.
yeah, let's do it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
during the live show, asking about my headcanons about Shining Collection.
Okay.
I also, for some reason, I like Glaring Dream a lot.
I love Glaring Dream. If you can, like, I cannot hear Glaring Dream and not sing. Like,
Same.
I love it so much.
Actually, for the longest time, my phone's ringtone used to be Glaring Dream, a Light in the
Oh.
Dark remix. Like fucking Fujisaki, because I was a nerd. Like, for the longest time, that was my phone's ringtone. or it was the opening few bars to Shining Collection. I really love Sleepless Beauty. I could, if I never have to hear the rage beat again, I will be a happier man.
I don't I don't mind the rage beat, but I was like,
I can go my
we...
entire life without ever hearing that song again.
But I mean, that's fair.
I never need to hear that song again.
I think it's interesting though that you know, the majority of the songs we mention are from the OVA.
Yes.
Because that one is a lot more. It's heavier on the music. It is about music. I do love that.
Yeah. It is definitely interesting to think that a lot of the stuff that we like more from that is from the OVA because it feels like it is the most music forward. Because the anime definitely does lose some of its like musicality. That's a word that we're gonna run with, and I'm not gonna ask or take any questions about it, because this is just how things are now. But you know, maybe if you guys want, we can build you guys a little playlist of some of our favorite Gravitation songs because it's a huge OST. There's a lot of music.
I think I mean I might be wrong. I think there is music on some of the drama CDs as well.
There has to be.
Yeah. I don't have all of them. I think, can I just, you know, this is like my number one complaint. Like, it's not my number one complaint. But one thing that I think is so sad. For all the doujin that we have.
Yes.
Why in the name of everything do we not have a drama CD? I mean, I need... Can someone just put them in a studio and have them recorded? I just want to hear it because the only thing that is in any of the drama CDs I have is like there are a couple of moments and I'm like, can we just have...
Oh, how do we feel about a blind game again?
I don't hate it.
I don't hate it either.
I don't hate any of them. I think...
Oh, if I never have to hear Super Drive again, if I have to... Super Drive, I never need to hear for the remainder of my life.
I like Super Drive.
It's just because it's the opening. It is so overplayed in my head.
I love it. So, I also like again from the OVA. I like Smashing Blue because it's so catchy. Like the way it starts.
I respect your opinion. I really like Bird and Breakthrough. You can definitely tell that like we have preferences. Like I said, if you want us to build a little playlist, let us know. We will not put that behind a paywall because we are not ruthless capitalists, just capitalists.
And then we also probably can't capitalize on music that we do not own.
Well, no, but like if I made a playlist and only put it on Patreon behind a paywall, I'm not going to do that though because I like you all. It'll probably be in Discord. If you're not in Discord, you should be there.
Join us in Discord.
Yeah, we have a lot of fun in Discord.
I am never online, but...
You were literally the first person online this morning.
But that was because I was awake at 5 a.m. to watch figure skating.
This is true. Okay, so we said a lot of things that might have you guys a little bit like, what the fuck? And I recognize that. It's been like 2 hours.
Don't worry, because when we... oh yeah, right, because I'm looking at the thing and I forgot that we were recording and then it died. Whoops.
You're not supposed to tell them that we had a technical failure.
Okay, no, but you can cut that out.
We're not cutting it out.
Okay, no, I just want to say that don't worry, because if you do brave your instincts and delve into gravitation, you're still gonna be like, what the fuck is going on? So
I mean, accurate. Yeah, it
doesn't matter.
I thought Hitalia brain rot was bad. I think gravitation is the worst kind of brain rot because it's one of the series that, like, if you apply any pressure to it at the wrong point, it does just sort of crumble.
I've been on gravitation brain rot for the past
20 years.
Yeah,
same. I mean, like, accurate. Same. One thing that we both agree with is that it is very funny in places.
It is so funny.
It doesn't make a lot of sense, but it's very funny.
I think, and I said this, I keep saying this, but a lot of the things with gravitation, like one of the reasons why it's so strange is because you have this extremely hyperbolic comedy, slapstick comedy, but also all these serious issues. So
Oh
what you
yeah,
need,
it's a huge tone problem.
it's very, so what you need to do is you need to just, accept that it's weird as fuck and keep reading. Like, that's my, like, just look between the lines, like, look between your fingers and all the weirdness, and then just keep going, because that's, I mean, it's a survival technique. Gravitation survival technique.
When you go out into the woods and all you have is gravitation, this is how you survive. When you go
You just have to,
when you go out into the forest,
don't ask, why is there a mecha panda? Just go,
don't
okay.
ask about the sharpshooting American.
And don't ask, like, there's a lot of things. I think one of my absolute favorite moments that always kills me, because I mean, still, like, even now reading it to myself, even when I know the story, I still laugh out loud every time I read it, because it's so funny. And one of my favorite moments is when, when there's a moment when Shuichi thinks Yuki's been kidnapped, and it's really like, he doesn't even have a reason to think it. He thinks Yuki has been kidnapped. And his solution to the problem is to grab this huge knife and then scream, Yuki! And then stab himself. And that's like, and that's fine, because this is gravitation, and you can get stabbed and blown up and lit on fire, but you'll be fine.
How many times is Suichi injured like that?
So many times, and I love it. I just love, and the blood level, like the amount of blood in Gravitation rivals Bleach.
Yeah, it's
like,
there's a lot of violence in it, and it's all played as a joke, and it's usually pretty funny.
Yeah,
I think
the funny parts are funny, but
I think still one of my favorite parts, honestly, is like in that first episode when Eri finds his Suichi's lyrics, and it's like, wow, you really suck, don't you? And it's like,
yeah,
romance.
But the thing is, in the most, actually, I don't like. I have been trying to figure this out. I'm very confused. The most recent doujin that came out is called "The Novelist is in a Good Mood," and I don't know, because there's
Written by me.
Yeah, there's a circle that worked on it called Sin. And I don't know if Murakami is actually in the circle, but she definitely has endorsed this. And the drawings look a lot like her, so I'm not entirely sure if it's like a joint project. I'm trying to figure out, because it doesn't have the Crocodile Ave thing on it. I own it, but there's a scene towards the end there. Or actually, it's in the beginning. It's in the beginning. They're watching TV. Shuichi's been on TV. He's been performing his new song, and Shuichi, and he's like, what do you think? And Yuki's like, yeah, as usual, it sucks. And then Shuichi's like translating it, and he's like, I'm bad at lyrics, but Yuki is bad with words. So when he tells me that my lyrics suck, he's actually saying that he loves me. And I'm like, I love this. I love it so much. It's so funny. And at this point, they've been together, for like, I think it's like 20 years, like 10, 15, 20 years.
Yeah, it has to be over a decade at least. But yeah, it's so, I think it's so funny. Like, I don't think he's bad at words as so much as he's just bad at feelings, but also look at who he's surrounded by.
I don't blame him.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be great at feelings either if really your only emotional examples are Kitazawa and Toma.
And yeah, all the adults in Yuki's life were like,
because think about it, like, are those were his formative men. It was Toma and Kitazawa,
and a little bit of his father, which
not that much of his father.
No, and the parts of his father that were in the picture are like
the womanizing and the drinking. The womanizing and the drinking he got from his dad.
Yep.
But everything else he got from Kitazawa or from Toma. This poor man was just set up for failure.
I feel, I have a lot of love for Yuki. I do.
I adore him. He's a precious bean. It is in a lot of places very, very progressive, even though we've made a lot of points to the contrary. Because even though they might not have been great examples of these things, they were talking about these things. Like mental health as a rock star and the gimmicks that you do to make money. There weren't a lot of series that were really willing to touch on that yet. It's one of the reasons why, like, Given is so kind of boring to me. because everyone's like, look at this accurate portrayal of music and gay, and it's like, it's boring gravitation.
I mean, you're entitled to your opinion. Personally,
I don't think it's bad. I don't think it's bad. It's just like it's boring gravitation. It's gravitation minus panda robot.
I think that Gravitation could have done with a lot less panda robot.
I think it needed more panda robot.
But
I think it definitely needed more panda robot.
Yeah, no, but I get what you're saying. I do love Given, but it has a completely different feel. It has a completely different feel, and I think that again, I think Gravitation is unique in so many ways because it balances, not always greatly, but it balances this completely absurd humor and great music with these topics that are not always delicately handled, but they are handled. And I think, you know, again, which was for me the redeeming, like the really redeeming quality is the way that Yuki and Shuichi learn to communicate and deal with these issues and how they come out of it in the end. And I think that really makes it worth for me. Every single time I finish reading it, I'm just like this gooey pile of emotions because I'm just like, I love them so much.
This is true.
I love it.
I am very upset by the fact that Seki Tomokazu and Kazuhiko Inoue end up in so many series together.
But like, wait, let me... Yeah, just go on.
Well, because, like, Seki Tomokazu, of course, is Suichi's voice actor. Kazuhiko Inoue is Yuki Aries. They have Fruits Basket in common. They were on Naruto as well. They have a bunch of series in common. And it's like, do you guys ask to work together? Because I hope that's the case. I really hope that's the case, that you guys are like, can we work together? Because they already have such great, like, voice acting chemistry. I really
and again,
hope.
Just do a friggin' do the drama CD, an R-rated one. I need it.
Not an R-rated one.
That's what I want. I want. It's the only. There are so many already. The only thing I want is an R-rated one, and I will die happily. Like, it's the final
you know what?
thing I need.
I will respect you for that. I'm not going to fight you on that one.
I am putting it out on the internet for the world to see. Like, please respect me.
Yes,
because clearly I have no self-respect, so I need you to.
Clearly, I have none, so I need you guys to have it for me.
Please.
I definitely also want to talk about that. It's really, really human in a lot of places, and as much as we talked about it, like it not being a great portrayal of mental health and it's like a healthy representation of mental health, it's also like a very real. And I don't want to give Murakami any credit for this because, frankly, I don't think that she did this intentionally. But it actually is probably one of the most realistic portrayals of someone with actual mental health issues and a lot of trauma. And maybe this is me projecting, but as I've gone on my mental health journey as a writer, I feel like Airy a lot. Where, yeah, there were conversations that I had early on where I was worried about getting put on antidepressants because I would lose my sparkle. The sparkle is called not wanting to kill yourself. That's the sparkle. Like, I had a lot of concerns about dumb stuff like that. I also processed my sexual trauma by being hypersexual. That's not a healthy way to cope with it, but that's how I coped with it. So and seeing that,
yeah, and some people do, and
right,
and I think that, and I that's the, you know, like the one most important. And again, spoilers. Like, if you're not gonna, if you haven't read the manga, you want to read the manga, then don't listen to me for the next couple of minutes.
Yeah,
but because what I really, really love is that, you know, Shuichi's always being like dismissed as being really stupid. He is really stupid.
He is.
But he is also in this relationship between these two complete morons. He is the voice of reason. Because he is the one. I think the moment that changed everything for me, this is now a digression within a digression, but was when I was reading when I was rereading Gravitation for the second time, but the first time as an adult. There's a scene where when they return from New York together after the whole panda bot thing, and they are in the car, and they are having an argument, and Shuichi just like, he turns to Yuki, and this is why I say it's so goddamn progressive, because look at anything from, you know, this era, the early 2000s, shoujo, BL, anything. People did not communicate.
They did
and
not.
Shuichi Shindo turns to Yuki 80 and he says, see, if you used your words, we wouldn't be having problems like this. So if you could just try talking. And I'm like, Shuichi Shindo gets it. Why doesn't anyone else? Like, what is this? How is he the most reasonable person I have ever seen in a manga? Like, what is happening here? And then he takes that, and he takes that on this journey with Yuki, you know, where they are learning to communicate, they're learning to process their feelings, and there's a lot of stuff happening towards the end there, where both of them are being pretty toxic towards each other, but they come out, it's very messy, but it comes out, and again, not perfect. Because EX exists, and there are new issues. But what happens? Yeah, there's oh my god,
there's new issues,
heartache and pain. Anyway, but they come out of it with Shuichi finally, like something clicks in his head. And he's like, he realizes that Yuki's trauma isn't only rooted in the fact that he was sexually assaulted, but it's the fact that he had actual feelings for this guy and that he actually wanted to have sex with this guy. Not the way it happened, but he wanted it. So he has complex feelings of love and devotion and guilt, but he has never been allowed to process this. Because everyone keeps telling him, Kitazawa's a monster, don't think about him, don't talk about him. And Shuichi says the magic words. He says, you know, he says that you don't have to feel like, you know, you don't have to feel threatened by my music because you're both number one to me, in the same way that I don't have to feel threatened by Kitazawa because we are two different people, and that means you can go on loving him. And no one, I think, has ever said that to Yuki before. He gives him permission to his own emotions, and I think that is really, really important because he hasn't had that before.
No, and again, casual hosting, I love that you bring that up because that's something that always, again, in my headcanon box, was always ticked by I don't really like Shuichi and Yuki together, is that I think Ari's first love will always be Kitazawa. And I don't really think it'll ever stop being Kitazawa. I think he definitely has some kind of feelings for Shuichi, but I don't ever think that I can acknowledge they get less toxic, but for me it always still feels like I would prefer Shuichi with someone who's more emotionally available. Just because I know he thrives on that. Like, so, spoiler alert for Amanda, when I first started saying that I really don't like Shuichi and Yuki together, everyone just assumed it was like dumb fangirl reasons. And I'm like actually really, really sort of like anti-cinnamon roll in a lot of those ways because like actually Yuri on Ice did it as well for me, where it's like, not really crazy about this whole like reformed whore thing for Victor. And it's like, oh, well, you just don't like, is that not what it is?
No.
Is he not just a reformed slut? Is that not the trope?
I am okay. I mean, I am neutral. I like Victor, you know,
I didn't say that was negative.
Victor, the married man.
No,
of course not.
That was negative. Is that not his storyline? Is that he was once a slut and now he's no longer a slut?
I just had to process it because I did once read a fanfic where it was like very opposite. Not that Victor wasn't a slut, but just that he wasn't aware of how much Yuri had been getting around, and I thought that was really funny. So I just had to take a moment.
Oh, it's fine. So I remember hearing that all the time. It's like, oh, well, you just don't like canon couples. It's not that I don't like canon couples. It's that I think oftentimes the main male is so toxic for their uke that I don't think it's fair. I don't think it's fair.
I agree, though.
Like, and it's so funny because, like, I remember going through that, even, like, with some of the shonen pairings, you know, that we were making gay because we were dumb kids. Like...
Because they were gay, because shonen.
Yeah, and, you know, to bring up your favorite married couple, Sasuke and Naruto, like, when they started pushing towards, like, oh, well, you know, maybe it's Sakura, maybe it's Hinata, even though that's not going to be a thing for another 20 years. It's like, Naruto has only said one other name outside of, like, his own, and that's been Sasuke.
It's
like it's not. He's not paying attention to any of the women. He's too dumb for any of the women. He hasn't given any other focus to anyone. Like, there was a clip that I just saw, and I hate you for this because now I'm paying attention. Kishimoto only drew one kiss.
Yeah.
And that was Sasuke and Naruto.
Yeah. And I mean, don't get me started on this, but
I'm going to try not to.
But it goes the same the other way, right? Because,
right.
I mean, I personally, and I apologize to all the Sakura fans out there, I don't like her. I had a period of time where I felt like she redeemed herself, where I really did. And I do love the Team 7 dynamic. I love Team 7, but I am not a fan of Sakura. I don't think that's necessarily her fault.
I think I agree. I think that's the writing's fault.
But even so, Sasuke does not like her.
No.
There's nothing.
There is not.
Both of them deserve better. Like, if you wanna, like, I mean, obviously Sasuke is obsessed with Naruto the same way Naruto's obsessed with him, so, like,
Agreed.
There's nothing. But even if, like, I would be more, I'm more accepting, say, Naruhina, because Naruto cares about Hinata, and she's obviously head over heels for him, so I can see that one, even though he's obsessed, clearly Sasuke is his love, but with Sasusaku, for instance, there's nothing there, and it's just toxic because it's not good for either one of them.
No, and like, we're not going to get into Boruto because I don't want to talk about it, but like, yeah,
that doesn't exist. I don't know what that is.
Sort of like me with the other season of Black Butler, where they introduced a terrible Sebastian knockoff.
I don't like him.
Oh,
it doesn't exist either.
Yeah, that doesn't exist. Thank you. Thank you for that.
Everything is denial. No.
I'm starting to realize that I think you might not like Toma because you are like him in a lot of ways.
Oh my god, that's the worst thing anyone has ever said to me.
I think you might not like him because you were kind of similar in that regard. Is that why you don't like him? Is that you see yourself?
I am going outside right now and I'm drowning myself. I don't want to live on this planet anymore. How dare you?
You don't like him?
Plot twist. Plot twist to those of you placing your bets. This wasn't a fight I was expecting to have today.
Like, that's what I'm thinking about it. Like, is that why you don't like him? Is that you're also a really controlling short king?
You know, when you put it like that.
Is that why you don't like him? Because you guys are the...
No, I don't like... Clearly, there are some similarities there that I wasn't aware of. Is that why you like me? Because I'm a short, controlling...
I mean, I am canonically your area either way, so one just ends worse for me than the other.
No, I don't like Toma because of a lot of reasons.
Yeah, because he's a monster. He's terrible.
He's a monster, yeah.
He's really a bad person.
And I like a lot of monsters, but there are some things.
I love that Toma Seiguchi, out of all of the little monsters you like,
I know, right?
He's the worst.
I know, right?
Like, we have managed to kin actual Satan, but Toma Seiguchi, fuck that guy.
I know. I'll be over here like I can't even think of any like really.
Like, we're over here trying to like rationalize anime fascism, but Toma Seiguchi, fuck him. He's a bad person. He's
it's true.
He's our endeavor. Where if you like Toma Seiguchi, you're an actual bad abuser person.
Oh my god. No, and
oh my god, he's our endeavor. He's a bad dad. He's a bad dad.
Oh no.
Oh my god,
that too, because Mika was actually pregnant towards the end of the manga.
That child has never appeared and never will appear, so as far as I'm concerned, does not exist.
I was a bit concerned. I was also a little bit like,
how did this happen?
Are you sure this is your child? Because I feel like you've never been near.
I don't think they've been in the same room. I don't think, unless this is like a Talia al Ghul, like Turkey Baster scenario, I don't think they've been in the same room long enough.
I feel like the only time I think I can remember them being in the same room like once, which is at that when they're at their bar or whatever.
Yeah, that sketchy ass bar they always end up at.
Yeah.
I don't think that they've been in a bedroom long enough to consummate a child.
I actually agree.
Like, unless she's just like stash piling away like hateful airy jerk off napkins.
Oh my god.
I don't think
for that imagery. I'm never sleeping again, by the way.
It's been 2 hours.
Oh my
It's been 2 hours. My
But
brain
it's
is
gravitation.
melting. It is gravitation. It is. So why I think, after 2 hours, I think it's important to Hallmark. Why have we sold our souls to this series? Why is this the hill we're willing to die on?
I feel like we kind of covered it, but like
We have, but it's called thematic conclusion.
yeah, I know.
It's called thematic conclusion.
Yeah.
You go first.
Okay, I go first. Yeah.
You go
Hello.
first.
I mean, obviously it's like everything, because it's like it's been a staple in my life for such a long time.
Mm-hmm.
It's a staple in BL history, whether you like it or not. Because if Gravitation hadn't been so, wildly successful and popular,
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we would have had, this. I mean, I don't think BL would have had such a big impact on the Western world. First of all,
I absolutely agree, and like
put it
not
on
not to cut you off, but I really want to hearken its mainstream success in the West.
yes,
Because I got to experience it firsthand as an American. But like, even the fact that these Komaguro plushies exist, the fact that like I have one of those like hideous anime messenger bags, that's Gravitation. There was so much legal merch of Gravitation during its height.
yeah.
Like concurrent, the way that Funimation sold its soul to get Yuri on Ice merch made, the same thing happened with Gravitation 20 years earlier, where there was a plethora of legal accessible merch. The manga was easy to get a hold of, the anime and the DVD was easy to get a hold of, the music and the CDs were easy to get a hold of. Sorry. It was really important.
Chokes on Gravitation. But yeah,
I was about to die.
exactly. It was it is this incredible staple in our Fujin culture, and you can't get away from that. And for me personally, again, like I said, I've been growing with this series. It was there as one of my first BLs that I ever read.
Same. Yeah, same.
And it has recurred in my, and the thing is, it's still going because Murakami is still out there making doujins, and I'm just like, I think that's also an important part because it's still there.
Yeah. I'm good.
Are you good?
Oh yeah.
You don't sound good.
I'm great.
But yeah. I just gotta put
Are
my
you
ear
okay?
thing-
Are
No.
you the okay one?
My ear thing fell out. 'Cause
Two,
I pulled it up.
your two hosts are fine after 2 hours.
I'm very fine. I have a lot of caffeine in my blood. But yeah, I mean, I think it's funny. I think it makes me turn into a pile of goo every time I read it. It makes me laugh like nothing else. I really love it.
I do too. And also I want to say, back to the mainstream aspect of it, before my lungs decided to fill with whatever airy nonsense. Whatever weird backward semi-asthma he has where he won't quit smoking. Also, I don't think that man has ever eaten.
No, but in the manga, he does eat a lot of cake.
Yeah, he has a huge sweet tooth, which is
Yeah.
something that I also have, which we're going to get to. But it was
Antique
also a
bakery,
series. Flips table. Flips table leaves. It was also one of the few series that boys acknowledged in the West. So there
Yeah.
was a lot of gay baiting. And then Oron did this later, where there was enough meat in it that straight boys and bi boys could watch it. And they would basically use that to queer bait fangirls and then pick up the fangirls. And I don't want to talk about how many Yuki Aries were able to seduce me when I was at conventions when I was younger. The answer is too many. A few of them while I was dressed as Taki Aizawa, which makes it doubly funny.
Yeah, that's an imagery.
I would love to see that hate sex, though.
Oh my god.
Can we have more Taki Aizawa hate sex,
No!
please?
No, Yuki. See, because I'm so puristic in that sense. I'm like,
I'm not.
let me have.
I am whore that man out. I am team whore that man out. Have him fuck Ryuichi. Let him fuck
Oh
Taki
my god, that's a
Aizawa.
dynamic. Can
It's
you
actually,
imagine?
it's actually, spoiler alert, my favorite dynamic.
Oh my god.
It's unbridled chaos. It is utter chaos, but it is actually my favorite dynamic. We will talk about that more in the live stream because it has been
Yeah.
2 hours.
I think there's going to be a lot more in the live stream, yeah.
Oh, there's going to be so fucking much in the live stream. But you're right, like, it's a huge part of history. And for me, it gave me my gender. I, at the time, was really struggling with, so a little bit of background. You know, I mentioned my very, very brave and harrowing story of sexual survivor stuff where I was forced into the cleavage of an older woman at a party where I had no complaints, so please don't think that I was a victim. I was fine. I was underage, but fine. Um, it's so weird looking at like early con stuff and being like, wow, all of this is just a crime now. I mean, it always was, but like,
but
by today's standards, it's a crime. I was fine. Please don't think that I was like brave or anything. I was a horny child. I had zero complaints, and I don't fault the woman who forced me into her cleavage. I don't think that I looked of age, but whatever.
It was a very strange time. Very
it was.
strange.
But I was, you know, I found Gravitation probably when I was around, probably like 15, 16, I want to say. And I was really, really struggling with this sort of like feeling inside of me. I acknowledged that I liked girls. I did like girls. But my attraction to girls was never the attraction that like I read about in fiction. Like it wasn't soft or delicate, and it wasn't like, you know, you want to write poetry about them. I don't know why my only thoughts about girls, about women loving women back then was like sapphic romance where you just like sit there and write poetry and braid hair and shit like that.
That sounds like a nightmare to me, but you know.
I mean, same. But like those were really like the only ways that people talked about women loving women, because like Yuri wasn't really a thing that girls talked about back then. Like Yuri was only really watched by like gross boys that we usually didn't acknowledge. Oh,
but also there wasn't really a lot of it.
Yeah.
At the time
Also, there
either.
wasn't back then. So like there weren't really a lot of like depictions that were that felt like me. And I started doing more writing, a lot of more fan fiction, and I was writing more male characters, and I started feeling like very, very weirdly comfortable doing that. And it was when Gravitation came out, when Crunchyroll was an illegal downloading website.
I did, yeah.
Those days.
I mean, I wasn't even on there. We were using DC++, so you know.
Oh yeah, this was back when like Crunchyroll was an illegal downloading website. Me and my friends started doing some fan subs for it, and I was Yuki. And I just felt so at ease. I felt so comfortable. I felt so fine. And like the things that he said and the way that he processed his feelings, they all felt right. And I'm not saying that that's good. I'm just saying for the traumatized, anxious little shit that I was in high school, and still kind of am, you know, that felt right. I didn't have, you know, the feelings about other people, especially females, the way that I had perceived women to. It was a very masculine feeling that I had towards women. Still is. Also at that time, there wasn't really a lot of conversation about gender outside of it being a binary. It was you're a man or you're a woman. You can be trans, but that's the only other option. And trans never really fit for me. I liked being a male and being in male skin, but the idea of bottom surgery never really did it for me, and I really like getting free drinks, so I like my tits. I will put them away sometimes, but I really like my tits. And it was through Gravitation that I was able to find, like, yeah, like, there is this weird gender fluidity that does exist. And it felt right. And, I mean, it gave me my archetype of, I really like angsty blonde men. I love it. And that's AichiYume's fault. And I never felt more comfortable than when I was voice acting and role-playing and cosplaying as AichiYume. And that was really, really powerful for me. And again, like, I can totally acknowledge that it's not always the most kosher. There's a lot of stuff that's hella problematic, and I'm not going to fight with anyone on that. Well, I might fight with some people on it, because while it might be problematic, I think it's still worth a watch. I still think it's definitely worth some things, even though it's problematic. But like, it changed my life. And I'm with Carola in a lot of the ways. I'll come back to it every once in a while. There's definitely parts that don't hold up for me, and that I don't rewatch, and that I don't care. There's definitely parts that I probably focus in on too much. But
but you're allowed. I do that too, though. I think they're probably different parts.
But I think that's also, to make it about us again. I think that's why I appreciate you so much, is that we do disagree, but we can see each other's points, and it can be done respectfully.
Yeah,
rather than just like, no, you're wrong.
Exactly. And this is how you get, these insightful conversations.
Absolutely.
We listen and we pick up, because we are reading into things differently, which opens new perspectives and a whole new dialogue. Like, I think that's really
absolutely, and that's one of the reasons why, like, I'm so glad that we get to have this conversation with you. This is not Venom.
Are you sure? Is it just your inner AichiYume that's just like, I would like to be a part of this conversation?
I would like to be a part of this. I just like this misrepresentation of my character.
Excuse me.
I can't imagine. He's probably not fond of how we talk about him.
Well,
probably,
suck it up, Aichi.
I think this series has been telling him that for 20 years. I think he's very used to hearing that. But I've had an amazing time talking about, I think, what is obviously one of our favorite series. I do want to put a bow on this by saying, do we have, like, a singular favorite character?
I mean, a singular is really hard.
True.
But, and I mean, do you want to go first this time?
I can go first. This might be a bit of a shock. It might be a bit of a shock. But I am a very, very, very soft Tatsuya stan.
Just but because I love Tatsuya, yeah.
Yeah, like, he's the last of the Usuki children. He clearly has no idea what he's doing. But he does get to live like the Hannah Montana best of both worlds. He gets to fuck his hot idol boyfriend. And occasionally get horribly dicked down by said idol boyfriend.
And he's insane.
And he's also absolutely batshit. Just in his own way, completely and utterly batshit crazy. And very funny in his own regard.
Yeah.
Not the best younger brother, if some of the doujins are to be believed.
No, and then to bring it back to a scene that I forgot to mention in the manga when talking about sexuality, there's a scene where he's hiding in the roof of their bedroom filming them having sex because he's gonna sell it to the tabloids like the great brother that he is. And then he's like, well, why you shouldn't be doing gay stuff then. And then Yuki and Shuichi are like, what do you think gay people do? I'm like, bless this entire chapter. I love this.
But also, what a very normal thing to do is hang out in roofs.
You've never filmed your family having... No. You know what?
Yeah, every part of that is bad, so no. Even as a joke, it's bad.
And this is the monk in training. This is...
He's gonna do great.
I cannot wait.
You're gonna go far, kid. You're gonna go far. Until he quits it all to be with Ryuichi.
Yeah.
He was probably a very, very close second as far as favorites. We didn't get to talk a lot about Ryuichi.
But I
think mostly because... I think honestly because if we started talking about Ryuichi, I think we would just get sucked into like a black hole of like, what is wrong with him? Is he okay? And he's clearly not.
No. Like, why? Why? I have a lot of questions.
Like, what is wrong with him? He's triggered by his own music, which is weird, but I love him, but he's also clearly in danger. If your answer is not Suichi, I'm going to be shocked.
Okay, you're going to be shocked. Okay, because No, I have been thinking about this, and if we're talking about the anime, I love Shuichi. He's my favorite, and
Yeah,
I love Shuichi. We are the same person.
this is true.
But I came to realize when I was deep diving into the manga this year, when I was doing
Yes.
the panel, that I
Yes.
actually think that my favorite character is Yuki, because I but it makes sense.
It does.
Because if I am Shuichi,
Your favorite would be his boyfriend.
but the thing is, because when I am reading, I am, and I am reading and I am sitting there, literally, you can ask the girlfriend, I'm sitting here reading, laughing to myself like a maniac, and then occasionally every other page screaming, Yuki! And it's like I'm freaking out. I love the manga version of Yuki. He's so pretty.
The manga
He's
version
so
is
funny.
great.
And I just realized, I think he's my favorite. And I was actually shocked because I didn't know that until this year. But yeah, no, I think he's a great, and he has a lot of, I mean, obviously has a lot of issues, but he has a lot of depth.
He does.
He's a very interesting character, and I have a lot of love for him.
Yeah, and I definitely appreciate that. Like, you also see him complexly, because I think that is one thing that, the fandom did kind of get bad about, is almost like infantilizing him a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, he is very mentally ill, and I will not take that away from him. He definitely does. He definitely does need help. He does need a lot of help. But
Meet my cat.
He heard us talking about mental health this year.
Yeah, speaking of mental health, this one.
He's so cute, though.
Yeah.
And he wants your gloves.
I don't want to give him my glove. I'm cold.
I know you live in the Arctic.
For those listening, my cat just attacked my arm.
It was very cute, though.
Oh yeah.
It looked really good on camera.
He dug one of his claws into my finger here, so having a good time. No.
Having an excellent
time.
time.
But yeah, but Yuki's a complex character.
He really is. He's so complex. And, like, honestly, it's one of those issues. I was just talking about this with a friend. We were talking about the Inuyasha sequel, Yashahime. And it's like, the issue that I have with Yashahime isn't that it's a sequel. It's that out of all the stories you could tell, this is the one you chose. And it's sort of the issue I have with Boruto, which I know doesn't exist. But, like, out of all the stories that I wish that you could tell, it's not that. Like, I would, like, if I could wish for a magical Gravitation prequel or sequel, what the fuck was going on with Eri when they were in New York? Let's codify that timeline of the Kitazawa stuff, because that's a lot.
Yeah, and
that's a lot.
Yeah, and he because there's all of this stuff and we don't know, and then there's all of the stuff that he does accomplish that because he does grow.
Depending on what you read, he grows a decent amount, considering.
This is actually very true. And I was going to say we could probably talk more about it in the live, but because the story of Gravitation also continues in the Shindoke no Jijo manga, which is a one shot, but that too, that they have a future in which they're in their 30s, and it's absolutely adorable. And he's weird. He has issues.
He does.
But he's very endearing. But yeah, I just really do love the versatility of Yuki's character in the manga.
Yeah, absolutely. And he's definitely very different than in the anime. It's almost weird because they almost are like two different characters.
Yeah.
I definitely think the anime heard cool beauty and ran too far with it, where he's almost just completely unfeeling. And it makes a lot of his actions really not make sense. But again, I feel like you need to start with the anime, because I feel like if you deep dive into the manga first, you're gonna end up like with like brain trailing out of your ears. I really
could be. Yeah, it's and I also recommend, if you do read the manga, that you try to binge it. Not too much at one time, because
I don't know if I'd recommend that. I don't know if I'd recommend that.
But I do recommend reading it like consequently, because when I was reading it the first time, it was still being published here. So it was like we would have like 6 months between each volume, and obviously you come into a Gravitation volume after 6 months, you open a page, you're like,
Who are these people?
What is this? Because Gravitation doesn't make any sense. But if you read them back to back, I would typically read like 3 volumes in a day and then like take a break.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see that. Like try to keep them like coupled like that, because yeah, I can definitely see where like if you take a huge break between like 3 and 4, it's like, what is this? Who are these people?
And especially when you get to like 8 and 9, when you start getting the New York arc and Reiji and everything, because it gets really chaotic.
Yeah, and then you find a way to put EX in your heart, because EX doesn't make any sense. And then we can maybe talk about dojins. Maybe then we can talk about dojins. But, it has been a wonderful 2 hours. I'm so excited. Which brings us to the wrapping up and conclusion of our show.
Yay!
Which means we get to thank our very first patron, Carm. Thank you so much for supporting the show.
Thank you so much.
If you would like to join them, go visit patreon.com/the Yaoi Shelf. We have lots of cool exclusive perks, including One Set Above, where you get a shout out at the end of every episode. We, again, do not require your financial support. We're not going to do the whole, like, e-begging thing. No. Where it's like, you know, in the arms of an angel, if you too can sponsor these Fujin, and, you know...
Flash's wrist.
Right, Flash's wrist. It's like, for a few dollars a day, you too can ensure these Fujin have more backwards gay books that they don't need.
What do you mean don't need? I have a great need. No, okay, no.
I mean, I also have a great need. I have finite space.
True.
You know... But yeah, we appreciate it, and thank you for being our first official patron. We
thank you so much.
Love and appreciate you very much. Next month, because it is the end of the year, which feels weird.
It feels really weird.
And is also Carola. It'll be her 3rd anniversary month for the show.
Yay!
You did it.
I did it. I'm still here.
You're still here. I can't believe you're away.
Still. Yeah, no, it was more like I can't believe you haven't kicked me off yet.
Why? Why? I've simped for you like every episode. What the fuck are you talking about? What are you talking about, friend?
I don't know. Lack of self-esteem, no.
Oh no, not like this. Not like this at the end of the episode. It's been 2 hours.
No! It's fine. I'm very happy to still be here. Yes.
Thank you.
What are we doing next month? Tell me. Tell them.
I was to say, we agreed on it. What are you talking about, tell you?
No, I didn't mean it.
What do you mean, tell you? We agreed on it. We're going to go into a little bit of, like, our Fujin journeys. We talked about a decent amount in this episode, but I think there's some nuance in it as well that I feel like we can kind of go into. I know also, we talked about it during our shipping expedition at CostaCon, if you were there for that. But I think, you know, end of the year, get a little retrospective, get a little nostalgic, you know, start thinking about some of the series that were formative to us that aren't Gravitation, because we do have more than just Gravitation.
Don't you think for a second, though, that just because we finally did this episode that we're going to stop talking about Gravitation?
Oh, no, I think it's only going to get worse. We still have a whole ass live stream to just talk about, like, headcanons and stuff like that, because I have... Yes.
The live stream is on the 24th? Am I mistaken?
Hold on, let me open up the calendar. It would not be on the 24th.
No, because
that's a Wednesday. I think I have it on the 28th.
Yeah, that makes sense. I knew it was the 20-something. I don't even know.
It's like, I would not have it the day before Thanksgiving.
Oh, that's Thanksgiving.
The 25th is.
Oh, okay. Good to know. Because, you know, we don't have that here.
I know, you guys aren't thankful for anything.
No.
I guess because it's cold.
Yeah. This is true.
It's like, I guess because it's cold, you guys don't have Thanksgiving. So I'm super excited for that. Just a little, you know, talk about like our Fujin journeys, you know, the other series that are formative to us. Not quite a meet the host, but, you know, just like how we got here. I think you'll probably, if you ever had any questions about how your 2 Fujin hosts are who they are, you'll probably learn some of the things that ended up being formative to them.
Yeah, and feel free to ask, you know, like...
feel free to...
Shoot us a question. We can answer it.
Yeah, for sure. If you have a question, like, outside of, like, the usual topic, again, like, send us a DM, Twitter, Discord. We don't have Instagram. Do we need an Instagram? We'll talk about that off screen. Because it's been 2 hours. We'll talk about that off screen. But yeah, also those are the places that you can find us. We have a Discord, we have Twitter, we have the YouTube where this will go up in a few hours depending on how fast things load.
Yep.
The rabbit is still here. He's been in most of the shots now, and I love him for that.
I love it.
But thank you guys for being here. We greatly appreciate it. Oh,
thank you so much for watching or listening.
Thank you for being here. Oh God, don't fall. He looks like he's died. Can I move you a little bit? Okay, there we go. Looks more alive. Looking more alive now. Thank you so much. We will see you in a few days for our live, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye!
Bye!